moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on up to the east side. Moving on up.
They gotta have been doing that. And that's oh, baby. It's Pi Day. You heard that correctly, folks. It's Pi Day. Y'all must have forgot. I know you forgot because I forgot. I woke up and the least likely of all people in my life, you know that friend that you just, there's no possible way he knows it's Pi Day. He was the guy. He was the guy. I got to give him some credit. Shouts out my boy Lucas. Coming through with the math facts, the holidays. I normally don't celebrate Pi Day because I'm not a fucking nerd. But maybe this year I am. Maybe this year I am a nerd. Maybe this year I do want to kind of celebrate Pi Day a little bit. What? Maybe I do want to wear my pizza socks. My pizza pie socks. Maybe I do want to wear my Grease shirt. Because I hate to break it to you, but you're welcome. The Greeks say, you're welcome for, math. To act like we didn't literally put up numbers for society back in the day it just can't even be taken seriously. So yes, it is Pi Day. What's the big fucking deal? Okay, moving on. No, stop right there. Not so fast. This is not some side-away, silly little tidbit intro. And then we're going to move on to some stupid shit. Like people eating each other in Haiti or whatever. You've heard enough about that. What am I going to tell you? No, I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you about pie. Now, don't turn off the episode yet. Hear me out. I know we got into math earlier this week. I know I did a show yesterday, quite literally yesterday, where I discussed mortgages and banking and amortization, which, by the way, that's not how you say it. I even opened up the show yesterday talking shit to a hypothetical Wall Street douche, saying, hey, guess what, buddy? I looked up how to pronounce it, so fuck off. And then I proceeded to pronounce it wrong the entire rest of the show. It's not amortization, it's amortization. Now, I was not in the room when they invented the pronunciation of this word. But if I was, I would have definitely voted for amortization. Amortization, it doesn't sound like how you want to pronounce it. Nobody wants to say it that way. It's like you have to force yourself to say it every time. It's kind of like when you go out to get Vietnamese food and you know it's pronounced pho, but you just don't want to sound like a douche. Can I please say pho? Can I please say pho? For Christ's sake. All right, fine, pho. That's what amortization is. See, I can't break it. It's too many syllables of a word to have the emphasis be on the first syllable. No, space it out. Amortization. That has swag. You can walk down the street like that. Yeah, I got amortization, not amortization. It's like you blow your wad on the first syllable and then the rest is just... I don't know. I don't like it. Doesn't matter. Whatever. That's not why we're here today. We're not here to talk about math necessarily. I mean, there will be a little bit of math, but this is more a philosophical discussion, believe it or not. See, back before we had this great societal divorce between philosophy and science, these two pursuits were one and the same. Most great scientists were philosophers and vice versa. Guys like Galileo, Archimedes. Aristotle, Da Vinci. Now we live in a world where science is over here and spirituality and understanding of the universe in a conceptual manner is over here. And this side is like, I trust science. And this side is like, fuck science. I trust vibes. And it's like, dude, what if you guys, this used to be the same thing. I don't know when understanding the universe and understanding the universe became two separate things. That's literally what you're both doing. Bring it back together. I'm here to do just that. Math doesn't have to be boring. You were made to think that it was boring because if you actually enjoyed math, then god damn it, you might have actually learned it. And if you learned it, then you wouldn't have been able to get fucked over for the rest of your life by people that understand math better than you and use it against you on a daily basis. So you can obviously see why you don't understand shit and why it might benefit you to do so. Pi is what we in the industry call a transcendental number. Now, before I get to what a transcendental number is, because I just had to get that out there, even the word itself, transcendental, what does it transcend? Well, it quite literally transcends our understanding of the universe. Our mathematical system cannot explain this number. It transcends. Whoa. Dude, slow down. Jesus Christ, it's a fucking number. Now, I might add that pi, of course, is a Greek letter. It actually makes the p sound in the Greek alphabet, and the actual symbol that looks like our letter P is called rho, or ro, as the Greeks say, and that makes the r sound. But the pi in the Greek alphabet is actually pronounced P. So I don't know why they didn't just call it P. Like, why do we pronounce it pi? Even the Greeks say P. Like, did you not know how to pronounce P? It's in your own alphabet. Whatever. I don't know. I guess we're lucky, because otherwise we'd be celebrating P Day today, which is not as fun. Anyway, pi, to explain it simply, is the ratio of a circle's diameter. Circle's diameter. A diameter being, if you cut a circle perfectly in half, go from one side to the other side through the center, what's the distance of that line? How wide is the circle from side to side? That's a diameter. A radius is, of course, half of that, the distance from the center to the edge. Important things to note. If you're trying to find the circumference of a circle, which is the distance around the circle, what you find is that the answer is the length of its diameter multiplied by some number. And that number is always the same. It doesn't matter what the diameter is, you just multiply it by some number, and there's your circumference. And we've also found that for the, likewise for the area of a circle, you take the radius, you square it, multiply that by some number, and now you have the area of a circle. And that's all well and good. I mean, we understand area and squaring and everything like that. I mean, if you have a square, right? A square is just, equal lengths on each side. If you want to find the area of a square, you just take one of its sides and multiply it by itself, aka squaring. I'm assuming we all put that together, right? That's why when you say a number squared, 2 squared is 2 times 2. And not to blow your fucking head off your shoulders, but when you're finding the volume of a cube, which has equal length, width, and height, you take one of its sides and you multiply itself by itself 3 times, aka cubing it. Shuddering. But anyway, this is easy. This is simple. This is like, what is this, 3rd grade math? I'm explaining it like I want people to keep up, but this is like I haven't gotten anywhere close to difficult, I hope, yet. I'm laying down this foundation to explain a simple concept, and that simple concept is we have shapes like squares and things like that in the universe and whatever. But of all the shapes in the universe, is there anything more shapely than a circle? It's literally the shape that like everything is. It's the shape of a black hole. It's the shape of a star. It's the shape of the planets, their spheres and things like that. It's just the natural occurrence when you have a force like gravity, which acts on all things around it at the same level of force, pulling it in at the same level. Well, if you have something acting at the same level of force in all directions, then it's going to form in all directions a perfect little ball. And that is your planet. So circles seem to be the most universal thing, literally. So you'd imagine that finding the area of a circle, if I could tell you the radius of the Earth, you could probably pretty easily tell me the length around the Earth, the circumference of the Earth, but you really couldn't. You could just approximate it. And that pissed scientists off. This number doesn't make sense. And so they went on a pursuit. You may have heard this expression before. It's called squaring the circle. Squaring the circle is an expression that is sometimes used to describe when a person has undergone an impossible endeavor, a futile effort. And there's no coincidence to that, because this is exactly what happened when all the great scientists and mathematicians and philosophers sought out to construct a square with the same area as a circle. This must make sense. And they tried that for 1,000 years. They couldn't do it. And it wasn't until the 1800s AD, when two German guys, go figure, figured it out. And the answer was, there is no answer. The answer was this number, pi, this constant, this number that you multiply times the radius squared to find the area of a circle, or the radius doubled to find the circumference of a circle, or in the case of a sphere, whatever. It cannot be represented. It can only be approximated. This number 3.141592654 goes on forever, never ending and never repeating. That's an important distinction too. It never repeats. It just goes on for infinity, and at no point is there any recognizable pattern. But yet this number, this completely irrational number, we've heard of irrational numbers, right? What's an irrational number? Well, an irrational number is just a number that just, it's not rational. It doesn't make sense. It's a number that goes on, like I said, forever and ever and ever, like square root of 2. Square root of 2? Oh, come on, square root of 2. You're just going to sit here being fucking 1.4142135562 forever and ever and ever, never repeating and never stopping? You're being irrational. But you know what? At least you're not being transcendental. Because at least I can express you using mathematics. See, all I got to do is take a 2 and put a little squiggly square root thing, and that makes sense. And I can demonstrate you. And so you may be irrational, root 2, but you're not so bad. You're still of this world. You haven't transcended my mathematical understanding of the universe. Pretty much every square root of every number is irrational, except for the ones that line up perfectly. You know, like the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3, but the square root of 13 is irrational. It's a real number. It's just irrational. But at least, again, you can express it. So it doesn't make them transcendental. Pi is transcendental. Transcends, baby. And I want to talk about another number that's transcendental. This number is even cooler than pi, dare I say. Maybe not. They kind of often go hand in hand. That number is E. Jim, E's a letter. I know. It's the number E. It's just a lowercase e. You've seen it. You've seen it on calculators and stuff. If you do finance, you've seen it in financing. Euler's number. I don't know how to pronounce it. That number is 2.718281828, going on forever, never ending, never repeating. But what is it? Well, we've already established that pi, this transcendental number, whatever, is the ratio of a circle's radius to its area. E is the limit of infinite growth. Whoa, dude. What? Yeah. Pretty cool. And it was discovered in none other than, oh God, you guys are going to be pissed, the banking realm. See, bankers are always trying to figure out how to make more money. That's their job. Well, that's pretty much everyone's job. I don't think anyone's trying to figure out how to make less money. But if there's anyone who's really good at it, it's bankers. They got the tools to do it. And so one day, bankers were sitting down, fiddling around with compounding interest. Compounding interest, of course, being the idea that you get charged interest on your interest. So if I loan you $100 at 10% every month, next month you owe me $110, obviously 10% of that. And then the month after that, you owe me 10%, not of the original 100, but of that 110 now. So now after that, now it's going up to 121. Now it's $11 in interest. And after that, it's 10% of the 121, not 100. So you're getting charged interest on your interest. It's this ever increasing, this exponential growth, slow exponential growth, sometimes fast exponential growth of interest. And the bankers were experimenting with trying to figure out what's the optimum frequency that we should charge people interest. So they sat down and they said, all right, let's work out an example. Let's say I loan you $1 today. And I'm charging you 100% interest. You owe me at $2 next year. So that's 100% interest next year. Doubled the amount of the loan. And you go, wow, 100% interest. That's pretty steep, dude. Jeez. All right, fine. I'll cut you a deal then. I'll cut you a deal. You're a nice guy. I like you. How about this? I won't charge you 100% interest for the year. What I'll do is I'll just charge you 50% interest every 6 months. How's that sound? And you go, that sounds better. I mean, 50% is a lot better than 100% interest. But then you do the math. And when you do the math, you realize, wait a second. I owe him $1. And after 6 months, he's going to charge me 50% interest. So now after 6 months, I owe him $1.50, right? And then 6 more months go by, he's going to charge me another 50% interest on that $1.50. Well, that's 75 cents. Add that on to the original $1.50, and now I owe you $2.25. Well, hold up. When you charge me 100% interest for the year, I owed you $2 off the initial $1 loan. It just doubled. But when you charge me 50% interest every 6 months, twice a year, I owe you $2.25 now? I owe you 25 more cents? I say, all right, dude, you know what? I'm sorry. I really think you're a good dude. And you know what? How about this? I tell you what. You're pulling my leg here, but we're going to make this work. How about I just charge you 25% interest every 3 months, all right? Every quarter. So 4 times a year, I'll charge you 25%. Not 50% every half a year, not 100% every full year. 25% every quarter year. And you go, all right, see, now we're speaking my language. I like this. 25%. I got this guy all the way down from 100% interest to 25% interest. And he's just going to charge you 25% every 3 months. Who cares? And then you sit down with your calculator because this one might go beyond your purview of your head math. And you go, all right, well, cool. I already trust you, but let's work out the math. All right, cool. So, I start with $1. There's $1, whatever. And you charge me 1.25 interest, measly. Okay, so after 3 months, I owe you $1.25. Awesome. No problem. I love the way this is going. And then, 3 more months go by, you charge me another 25% interest. Okay, well, now I owe you $1.56. Okay. It seems a little weird. I feel like I only do $1.50 after 6 months with the 50%. Okay. Whatever. Let's play it out. And so we do that 2 more times, 9 months in. And then, of course, at the end of the year, now that we've compounded 25% interest 4 times after the year, wait a second. I owe you $2.44 now? When you were charging me 50% interest every 6 months, I owed you $2.25 at the end of the year. When you were charging me 100% interest once a year, I owed you $2. And now you're charging me 25% interest every 3 months, every quarter year, and I owe you $2.44. What is happening here? And so the bankers noticed this, and the mathematicians said, well, the bankers noticed it, and the bankers said, mathematicians, do something. What's going on with this? I'm liking the way this is going. I'm starting to think that we could do this forever. Infinite growth. It'll go to infinity. And so the mathematicians sat down and they said, all right, relax, dude. We'll take it from here. Jesus. They said, okay, great, Jim. You got your little tricks. I wasn't alive. But let's explore. Let's work at let's get out of these small potato numbers. Let's turn it up a notch. How about this? Instead of 100% once a year, instead of 50% twice a year, instead of 25% 4 times a year, how about 1% 100 times a year? 1% interest? Come on, dude. That's nothing. There's no way that's going to be a thing. Come on, dude. Relax. Stop wasting our time. This is just ridiculous. I don't even know why you're typing it in. I don't even know why you're bothering typing it in. What? Hold on, let me press equals again. Just make... What? $2.70? What is happening here? Why does it keep going up? Maybe it will go up forever. I don't know. Fuck it. You know what? I'm fucking pissed off now. What's gonna happen if I do 1/10%, 1,000th? Fuck it. 1/10%. 001, and then I do that 1,000 times a year. Oh my God, 2.7169. Fuck it, dude. I'm going whole hog. How about 1 million? What happens if we do 1 million? 2, 3. Oh, geez. I'm fucking losing my mind here. 1, 2, 3. 2.71828. Well, it's going up. But, we started at 2. Then we went to 225 when we cut that in half. Then we went to 244 when we cut that in half. And then when we went up to 100, it got up to like 270. Then when we went to 1,000, it got up to like 271. And we're starting to realize is a pattern. That this is approaching something. And what the mathematicians worked out was, what if you could compound something at an infinitely small percent rate, an infinitely small rate, and infinite times? Because that's what we're working to. We do it half the rate, twice the amount of time. We did 1/4 of the rate, 4 times the amount of time. We did 100th of the rate 100 times. So what if we did an infinite portion of the rate and infinite times. And that number worked itself out to 2.718281828 and on forever. Why? Who cares? Well, what we've just demonstrated is a law of nature. Because that's how things grow. That's how things are created. See, I always used to joke that I've been every weight between when I was born and what I am right now. I've also been every age, every single age, every single millisecond, every single millisecond between 0 and my exact age right now. I've also been every height between microscopic and 6'2". 6'1" 3/4. Who's counting? Because in the universe, you don't grow segmentally. Your hair, you don't just go like, you don't like walk around and then one day you're just like, boom, and then you're instantly a foot taller. No, it's a slow growth process. And the trajectory of that growth is always a ratio of this number E. It can be shown to demonstrate population sizes in nature of animal species and growth or depletion. Bacterial cells, half-lives. Can be shown to demonstrate probability, models probability. We've seen this idea of the 1% rule. We've all probably heard about that. It's just this kind of idea that if you get 1% better, just 1% better every day, that at the end of the year, after 365 days, you will have become 37.8 times better. And that's like a real mathematical thing. Just 1% increase every day after 365 days compounds to 37.8 times its original value. That's inspiring. I also find the number E inspiring because the number E models that. The number E models, as I just mentioned, everything in terms of growth and deterioration. I'm going to discuss one more interesting number before we get to the point here. I don't know if it's transcendental. It might be. But I do know it's imaginary. In fact, its symbol is a little lowercase I for imaginary. And this number represents the imaginary concept of the square root of -1. Now, the reason why that number is imaginary and can't exist is because any negative number times itself is a positive number. -1 times -1 is 1. Negative anything times negative anything is positive. So you can't really have a square root, which is what number times itself equals a negative number. You can't have a square root of a negative number. So the square root of -1 is imaginary. You have to imagine it. It's not a real thing. But somehow, these three numbers that don't make sense, that cannot be expressed in any type of definable terms, when strewn together, they make perfect sense. If you take the number E, as we recall that number 2.7 blah, 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 forever, the law of infinitely compounding growth in nature and everything around us, and you put it to the power of that number pi, that ratio of a spherical circular object's radius to its area or volume, this shape that we see all throughout the universe, the most common shape in the universe, this strange number pi. And we multiply that times this weird little imaginary number I. And then we just add 1. It equals 0. E to the power of pi times I plus 1 equals 0. Why are these numbers connected? Why do these numbers combine together so perfectly? Three numbers that have no place in our understanding of the universe have perfect place among each other. And when combined, they fit perfectly into our universe. The number 1 and the number 0. To me, I find that, I will say, inspiring. I find it telling, demonstrative of the limits of our understanding. And I do believe that's a flaw in the thinking of the people that are like, I trust science, blah, 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 blah. I like science too, as you can see. I'm not anti-science. I'm certainly not anti-math. But when you truly understand math and science, and you truly understand how much we don't understand, science is man's best attempt to describe the world around him. The world around us is not bound by the confines of science. Much like the sun is not bound by our daylight savings time, as we discussed on Monday. We have a way of understanding the world that cannot make sense of so many of the fundamental aspects of our world. Our numbers cannot describe things like pi. Our numbers cannot describe things like I, or things like Euler's number, law of infinite growth. Yet those three incomprehensible numbers unite perfectly to fit into our universe together. And there's many more numbers like them. And so on this Pi Day, I just did, want to take some time to point out that not only can math be interesting and science be interesting, regardless of how boring I just made it, but more so, I wanted to kind of start to bridge that gap that has become so popular in this day and age. That gap between science and philosophy. If you get to the upper limits of either of those fields, you realize you're at the same place. Scientists cannot explain how something came from nothing, nor can philosophers. Nobody can. And much like the number pi or the number e, perhaps the answer is that there is no answer. Or again, like these irrational transcendental numbers, there is an answer. We just could never possibly understand it. Yet somehow when you take these incomprehensible answers, they become something comprehensible, and that is what we are. And that is what our existence is, perhaps. So happy Pi Day. And in honor of Pi Day, I'm going to do a very special Pi-infused Rook look for the people. And it's not just because my model says so, although that does help. But we have the ACC quarterfinal tournament going on tonight. Boston College versus Virginia boy. This is going to happen at Capital One Arena. It's a neutral site. No home advantage. For some reason, and I can't explain why, there's no injuries on either team. Virginia is the heavy favorite. Now that seems weird because my model has Boston College as a slight favorite. Basically, my model has it as like a pick'em, but like it's technically like Boston College minus 0.2 points. So I don't understand that discrepancy, but I will take advantage of it. There's not really many boosts tonight, but there is, of course, New Reliable, the Fanatics, 25% boost you can throw on. For Boston College, plus 5.5 versus Virginia tonight at 9:30. BC, Boston cream pie, baby. Happy Pi Day to you folks. Till next time, peace.